I will be the, I guess, the mistress of ceremonies this morning, and I will start by introducing Josephine Lyon, who actually did work experience here in DFID in 2008, and she will be the lead interviewer for the Secretary of State to start us off this morning.
Okay. Well, my first question, obviously, would be on the new policy for girls and women. And I would ask why you decided to have this strategy based mainly on girls and women, as opposed, for example, to focusing it on a country specifically or a specific disease.
Well, thank you very much for coming this morning, and thank you very much for taking such an interest in this. The key answer to your question, I think, is that anyone who is engaged in development, anyone who does the job that I am doing, doesn't have to do that job for more than 3 or 4 minutes to realise that issues around girls and women are absolutely central to development. So right at the beginning, the importance of trying to change what happens at the moment, which is that in Rwanda, for example, the chance of a mother dying in childbirth is 1 in 35, and in Britain it's 1 in 4,700. So you see the astonishing contrast right at the beginning, at the first moment. And then at the same point, you note that something like 76% of women in sub-Saharan Africa have no access to contraception. So women cannot choose whether and when they have children, as they can in the developed world. Then you move on from that to the fact that girls don't go to school. And one of the key things that we announced last week was that we would try and ensure that 11 million children get into school over the next 4 years, which is more children than we educate in Britain, underlining the absolute importance of getting girls into school. If you get girls into school, they will themselves have children later and have fewer children. And their children are more likely to make sure that their children go to school. So you start an absolute transformation of society by getting girls into school. It's one of the best interventions you can make. There's a Ghanaian proverb which says, if you teach a man, you educate him, but if you educate a girl, you educate a nation.
And why do you think that's especially important now? Is there anything relevant about particularly now that we should have a policy for women?
Well, it's a recognition of the fact that it is so fundamental, because the 2 areas I've talked about are just in the first, right at the very beginning of someone's life, a girl's life. And now, because we want to make it explicit, not just implicit, the role of girls and women, now because we have refocused the way we do development in Britain onto the results that we're seeking to win, so we want to sell a much more compelling story to people about why development is so important. And also, I think that it's morally right to do so. I have 2 daughters who are now have both just gone to university, and I look at my own children, my own 2 girls, and I contrast the opportunities and chances they have with some of the girls of the same age who I have seen overseas in the last 5 or 6 years. Children who have absolutely nothing and who are hugely disadvantaged by dint of the fact they are girls. And I think that is something which appeals to all of us in the sense of wanting to try and do something about that inequality that exists.
So you talk about your own daughters. Do you think there's anything that women in Britain, women and girls in Britain could or should give to the contribution of age? Do you think there's kind of insight that they can help with, or what they can do more to relate to the girls and women in developing countries?
Yes, I think speak out. I'm very conscious that my own children have seen this inequality and spoken out about it. And everyone should speak out. I don't believe that women's issues should only be handled by women, as some people do. I think that all of us should speak out from our own different experiences. There have been campaigns in Britain, too, about the importance of getting my friend into school, underlining the importance of education in determining people's life chances and opportunities. So I think that people, people like you, speaking out like this, making clear that you attach importance, has a strong effect in the messages it sends, not least to politicians who make these decisions.
Okay, so you mentioned your experiences abroad. Would you say that that was the most life-changing or important experience for changing your policy towards women, or were there others also that stand out?
Any particular experience? I think that the one thing I will never forget is that we were involved in building a clinic, a family planning clinic, adjacent to Catholic Church land in Rwanda, which is quite a tricky issue area. And a lady came in to the family planning session, and she had 5 children, and she said, "I think I'm pregnant, will you test me?" And they tested her. She was clearly extremely nervous, and they came back to her and they said, "We've got good news, you are not pregnant." And this woman danced, she screamed, she laughed, she cried, and she got 5 children. And she said, if I have another child, it will sort of break the whole structure. And she was just so pleased to find out that she was not pregnant. And I think I watched that, and it was enormously emotional, seeing what we could do to help her.
So could you say thank you very much?
Thank you.